Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, with some must-see Raiders rumors from today. I am recording this show live on April 3rd. It was right after the breaking news that the Las Vegas Raiders extended Geno Smith, so you might see this on a later date. But I am going to be breaking down some must-see Raiders rumors. Before I get into that, though, some other news that happened today around the Silver and Black. Some off-season workout dates have been put out there. The first day is going to be April 8th. Then voluntary minicamp. This is for, the newly signed players, if you will. April 21st to the 23rd. Then the OTA off-season workouts. They're going to start May 19th. They're going to go to the 21st to the 22nd, 27th, 29th to the 30th. Then June 2nd to June 5th. Mandatory minicamp for the Raiders does end up starting on June 10th. Now, it's not going to be mandatory again to go until that June 10th date. You are also going to start seeing some just win babies, which for those that don't know what the rumor meter means, it's if I give something for just win babies, it means it's 100% accurate. Believe it, baby. If something is 0, we like to say tuck rule, tuck that, and it's not true at all. So the very first one is the Raiders. They were interested in Joe Milton. Joe Milton today ended up getting traded to the Dallas Cowboys. We'll kind of break down what that compensation was. But this is for just win babies. Believe it, baby. The Raiders were 100% interested in Joe Milton, which I was a little bit interested to find that out, but it was reported by Jordan Schultz. My understanding is since Joe Milton became available at the start of the offseason, teams that showed interest, including the Raiders, Eagles, Giants, Steelers, and the Cowboys. The Patriots had a better offer for Milton, but chose to send him where he wanted out of respect for him per sources. So Milton wanted to go to the Dallas Cowboys because his family grew up Cowboys fans, so that's where he wanted to end up going. I would love to know what the other team was willing to offer and how much it was, but this is what the trade ended up being. The Cowboys end up getting quarterback Joe Milton. They also got a 7th-round pick. In exchange, New England ended up getting a 5th-round pick at 171. I'll be 100% honest with you. When I hear what was reported by Jordan, it's not that I don't disagree with it, but what I end up seeing is honestly, it wasn't that much bigger of a deal. I still think the Patriots did what was best for them because, yeah, they might feel bad about the whole Joe Milton situation, but the New England Patriots have been trying to get rid of Milton the entire offseason because we already knew he does not fit what Josh McDaniels wants to do on the offensive side of the football. So to me, when I saw this Joe Milton deal go down, the Raiders being interested in Joe Milton to me means that they're looking for another quarterback. And the show that you're seeing right now is a show that I scripted before the Geno Smith contract extension ended up going down. And I have been somebody that's confidently set up here, and I said, I believe the Raiders end up taking a quarterback a little bit later on, potentially on day 3. But quarterback 2 right now as it stands, it's Aiden O'Connell. But we know Pete Carroll wants to be able to add competition. The Raiders were interested in Zach Wilson earlier this offseason. Obviously, they did not end up bringing him in. But if you're interested in Joe Milton, you're interested in a guy like Zach Wilson, that means you know that you got your guy Geno Smith who's going to be your quarterback for the next 3 seasons, and you know that you wanted to be able to have somebody that was going to learn underneath Geno for multiple years, and that's what Joe Milton would have been. I look at the Raiders right now seeing they were interested in Milton. They just gave Geno Smith a contract extension. This team is planning to develop a quarterback behind Geno Smith. So again, when I structured this video, Geno didn't get a deal done yet. Now the fact that the Geno deal is already done, this one is again for just win babies, believe it, baby. And I don't want to sit up here and pat my back too much. Y'all probably hate me when I do that. But by giving Geno Smith a contract like they did, which was 2 years, $75 million worth up to $85.5 million with $66.5 guaranteed. Technically, you're looking at a 3-year deal right around $106 million when you already slap on the deal that he had. The Raiders believe in Geno Smith. The Raiders believe in a quarterback who is accurate. A quarterback, Geno Smith accuracy ranking in the year 2024, second most accurate quarterback in the NFL. In 2023, 2022, and 2021, ranked as the number 1 most accurate quarterback in the National Football League. Those are some pretty good numbers, if you ask me. So are the Raiders planning on developing a quarterback? Yes, they're planning on developing a quarterback, but this shouldn't surprise you. This has been the plan, y'all, all along, right? This, for anybody that watches this show religiously, you know that I've been saying the Raiders' plan all along is to develop a quarterback for multiple seasons. So the fact that the Raiders were interested in trading for Milton, that tells me that they were interested in developing a quarterback. John Spytek just the other day said Geno is going to be with us for years to come. This regime also didn't draft Aiden O'Connell, and developing a quarterback has been the Tom Brady plan. So coming up here, I'm going to tell you which quarterbacks are on the Raiders' radar in terms of development. And every QB that I'm going to bring up has some sort of connection with the silver and black already. I'm not just going to be throwing QBs at the wall saying there's a chance. Every quarterback you are going to see is 100% on the Raiders' radar, and I'll break down who those are in just a moment. But if you're not watching this live show, I'm live right now. I got over 1,000 people pulled up with us for the Geno Smith breaking news. If you missed the Geno Smith breaking news, it's probably because you're not subscribed. It's probably because you don't got those notifications on. Anytime big-time news happens, hell, anytime rumors happen, I'm going to make a video about it because I'm a diehard Raiders fan, and I know a lot of y'all are psychos just like me that just need some Raiders content 365 days out of the year. So let's talk about some of these quarterbacks that are on the Raiders' radar. Also, what I did is I reached out to Tom Downey, our NFL draft expert here at Chat Sports, and I asked, what grade would you give each player? So the grades that you're going to see are where Tom thinks that player ends up going. The first quarterback that I'm going to mention, Shedeur Sanders. The Raiders had a combine interview with him. Tom Brady has been a mentor for Shedeur since 2020. Tom thinks that a team should take him in round 2. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, actually. There is a chance Shedeur falls out of round 1, which might shock a lot of people. It would shock me as well. I don't think the Raiders end up taking him at number 6. I personally think the Raiders are going to wait until day 3 to take a quarterback. Let's go to another QB, though. That's on the Raiders' radar. Jaxson Dart. He had a formal meeting with the Raiders at the NFL Combine. Also, high school teammates with Jackson Powers Johnson, and JPJ is going to be one of those pillar players, and because of Jackson's ability to throw the ball down the field, and because that's so critical in a Chip Kelly system, but you got to let Dart learn for at least 2 years. Like, he's not even close to being ready to play in the NFL. His footwork's bad. His technique is bad. Yes, he throws a pretty deep ball, but he needs time to be able to learn. I would say the highest quarterback that you're probably going to take in the draft is going to be Dart at 37. But I'll be real, I would be pretty disappointed in the Raiders if they ended up doing that because I just don't think that it's a smart option for this organization. Before we get into some more quarterbacks that are on the Raiders' radar, and quite frankly, the QBs that I think are the highest chance that the Raiders end up taking on the NFL draft, I do got to give a shout-out to our sponsor here, PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. Download the app today. Use code CLNS. You're going to be able to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. On PrizePicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports. Combine your favorite baseball players with players from basketball, hockey, esports, and much more. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. I know Geno Smith just signed his extension on the date that I am recording this video, but if you're looking to go more or less on anything Geno Smith related, the passing yards is the one that I would say is the easier of the two, though even 22.5 passing touchdowns, I'm going to go more on that. If the Raiders have a better offensive line than what he had in Seattle, which they already do right now, and it's not close, and then if the Raiders are able to go out and they're add, another piece or two, Geno Smith's going to throw for more than 3,500 yards. That one, I'm telling you that right now. So you can go more, you can go less. You can do that, which is season long. But also, man, we're talking about there's some great basketball games that are going to be coming up this weekend. We're talking about baseball seasons here. Hell, I went to a Mavs game the other day, and I took Alex. I was able to go with one of my buddies, and I don't really give a shit about basketball. I'm not going to lie to you. But when you got more or less on a game, when Alex is even invested, that tells me that PrizePicks is a lot of fun, and it's why I think a lot of y'all would have a good time doing it. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Make sure that you use code CLNS, and if you're trying to run your game all season long, make sure that you do it over on PrizePicks. Let's go to more quarterbacks on the Raiders' radar, and these next 4 are the ones that I would say right now are the most likely that the Raiders end up drafting. Will Howard just won a national championship with Chip Kelly, had a combine meeting and a top 30 visit. Tom believes he ends up getting drafted or should get drafted in round 4. Let's go to Jalen Milroe. I'm going to be real with you. Jalen Milroe is starting to turn into that sleeper QB that If you're interested in a project like Joe Milton, it means that you're confident in your ability to develop a quarterback. If you're confident in your ability to develop Joe Milton, then why wouldn't you be confident in Jalen Milroe, who is an absolute alien? He had a formal combine interview, had a top 30 visit, and because he is an insane athlete, and if you're interested in Milton, you got to be at least a little bit interested in Jalen. And the other part about Milroe's game, he's got it up here, and I heard from a very good Raiders source, the Raiders do like him, but they like him for up here. He is going to take time to develop, though. Let's go to another quarterback that's on the Raiders' radar. It's Kyle McCord, who the Raiders met with at the NFL Combine. And I know that there's no overlap with Chip Kelly, though there's got to be at least some overlap there with players, obviously, right? Coaches on that Ohio State team, and I bet you some players, some coaches know Kyle McCord, and because McCord was at Ohio State from the year 2021 to the year 2023, there's going to be a little bit of overlap there. Tom has him as a round 5 grade. Let's go to the quarterback that, if I was a betting man right now, I might say Quinn Ewers might be the top pick, which Quinn wouldn't be the guy that I would go with for the Raiders, but he is the only one. He is the only quarterback that's got a top 30 visit who met at a pro day and met at the NFL Combine. There is not another quarterback in this year's draft that has all 3 of those things that I just mentioned. So Quinn is definitely on the radar, and I think when everybody talks about the type of quarterback that Quinn Ewers is, people say, like, he's got talent, and you can't deny his talent, but he needs a lot of time to be able to develop, and who better off to do that than somebody along the lines of Chip Kelly? So I think out of the day 3 quarterbacks, the top 4 most likely that could be drafted by the Las Vegas Raiders are Will Howard, Kyle McCord, Jalen Milroe, and Quinn Ewers. My question to the nation out there is this. If you had to pick a day 3 quarterback from the list of names that you see up here, would you go with Will Howard? Would you go with Jalen Milroe, Kyle McCord, Quinn Ewers? My answer, honestly, if I had to pick between all 4 of those quarterbacks, the guy that I would go with, I'm going to go with Jalen Milroe, dude. And I'm going to go with Jalen Milroe because I believe in Chip Kelly. And I believe in this coaching staff. And if you end up picking Ashton Genty and you pair him with somebody like Jalen Milroe, I do find that to be very interesting. And I know Milroe had a bad year last season, but when you look at what he was in 2023 with Nick Saban, and then without Nick Saban, I'm just going to say losing Nick Saban probably hurt the Alabama program overall. If it's not, like, I would rank them as Jalen Milroe would be 1 for me. Kyle McCord would be number 2. Probably go Will Howard and then Quinn Ewers. Like, I'm not going to lie. Quinn scares me the most. He might have the most upside, minus Jalen Milroe, though. Let's go to the last quarterback, though, that is also on the Raiders' radar, and it is Cam Miller. He is a quarterback from North Dakota State who had a top 30 visit with the Raiders. And top 30 visits, I would say, way more of importance than combine pro day visits. So when you're getting a top 30 visit, I would say Cam Miller's probably going to be one of these guys drafted in the 7th round, maybe somebody as a UDFA. He is a 2-time FCS national champion, and I actually was able to watch the game where North Dakota State played New Hampshire, and the kid from New Hampshire, I can't remember his name, but people call him like the FCS Johnny Manziel. He ended up winning the Heisman this past year. That battle between Miller and I forget the other kid's name. We watched a lot of, honestly, North Dakota State football. We watched the very first game of the year was Colorado against North Dakota State, and I thought Miller looked pretty good at times. He is undersized, but what he's able to do and why I would say the Raiders are probably interested in him is he's able to go out there and execute an offense. He's able to go out there and do exactly what you tell him to do. North Dakota State quarterbacks do make me nervous just because, they haven't done very well in the NFL. Especially over the past few seasons. But if you're just getting a guy that can compete with Carter Bradley, this is the dude that I would say would potentially be a Carter Bradley battler for a UDFA of some sorts. Coming up, though, I got my final rumor of the day, and it's going to be around Devin White. And I knew Devin White was going to be a popular talking point, and this was somebody that I talked about a little bit, yesterday. Technically, I talked about him on Wednesday. But is Devin White going to be a starter for the Las Vegas Raiders? I'm going to give this one only one just win, baby. I'm going to say that there's a small shred of truth to this. If you were to put a Raiders roster out on the field right now, Devin White would probably be the starter next to, Landon Roberts. And I know John Spytek said that he believes in a resurgence for Devin White. Believes that he can be a weak side linebacker. However, though, money talks. And when you look at the contract that the Raiders ended up giving White, it was a 1-year deal. Now, they gave him some cash. They gave him some extra cash, and it's technically like 1 year at $1.17 million. But I care more about the cap, and the cap is $1.03 million. And when you see that amount of money, that tells me that like they don't view him as a true starting linebacker. They believe in him, and they want to believe in him, but there's no more risk anymore in the Devin White move. The Raiders are going to draft a linebacker. I'm very confident in saying that, and there's been a lot more, smoke. There's been a lot more rumors around the Raiders taking a linebacker a lot higher. And I don't remember which episode of the Raiders Report this was when I originally talked about it, but, we were talking about this team being interested in linebackers for months. When you also look at a lot of the NFL Combine linebacker visits that this team had, it's a lot of inside linebackers where, Jackson Woodard to a Carson Swessinger, a Danny Stutzman, a Cody Simon, all of those players I would have more confidence in than Devin White in year one, and I know that they're all rookies, but I just don't view Devin White as an every down linebacker. If you let him be an athlete, if you let him be an edge, hey, he can pin his ears back, he can go out and go get them. Those are some inside linebacker prospects. There's also another linebacker prospect that could go number 6 overall, and I did a whole video on him on Sunday. You'll be able to check that out. A lot of smoke around that guy. But what's important to note here is this. I did a show a few months ago on a source that told us that the Raiders are doing a lot of homework on quarterbacks, offensive linemen, and linebackers. It was their top 3 focuses, which quarterback, all right, Geno Smith, I see that one happening, and doesn't surprise me. Offensive line, this team has really been trying to build in the trenches, and that's what John Spytek does. Linebacker, though, I would say they haven't really shown me that that's a big point of emphasis. Hearing that makes me wonder, could they end up taking a linebacker a little bit early, and are they viewing some linebackers as starters, which is why they went a little bit cheaper with Devin White and Landon Roberts. I will say this before I get out of here. If you're planning on pulling up for the NFL draft, I hope that you decide to pull up here on the Raiders Report. We had over 283,000 people join us. We went live for almost 21 total hours. You will see the picks before you see them on TV here on this channel. And if you are planning on watching the draft, I hope that you decide to pull up here to the Raiders Report with Jeremy Chuggs and I, because I promise you this, nobody's going to have as much fun as what we do on the Raiders Report for the NFL Draft.